Okay, so first I have my fabric folded over, as you can see, and the first thing I'm going to do is to actually cut the strips of fabric that I'm going to use as like the drawstrings for my shorts, because the shorts are going to have those like cute drawstrings on the side. So I'm going to cut 2 strips of fabric because this is pretty long. Like, let me measure that actually, but it does look long enough for one side. So this is almost like 20, this is 22 inches basically, roughly 22 inches, and it's folded over, so that's 44 inches. So that's definitely long enough for one side. And so I'm going to cut 2 of this, and I'm going to make it about 1.5 inches wide or 1 3/4 inches wide. I'm going to cut the strips of fabric, and then I'm also going to cut a strip as well for like to make the channel for the drawstrings, and I'm going to show you what those look like. Let's do it. Here are the 2 strips of fabric that are going to be our drawstring, and it's 1 3/4 inches wide. And then, like I showed you, it's 44 inches long for each of them, but that might even end up being too long. But anyway, this is a strip that's going to be like the channel for the drawstring. And basically, this is going to be dependent on the length of this, is going to be dependent on the length of your shorts. But the width, for the width, I used 2.5 inches. Actually, wait, I think it's 3.5. Is it 2.5? Yeah, okay, that's 2.5 inches. So I used 2.5 inches for the width, and I have 2 of them here because we need 1 on each side of the shorts. So now I'm going to put these aside, and we're actually going to cut the shorts right now. So for these shorts, we're going to be cutting the waistband, and then for the legs of the shorts, there's going to be the front and the back for each leg. So that's 4 pieces for the legs, and then 1 piece for the waistband. So we're going to be cutting 5 pieces right now. So let's get started. So first thing I'm doing is marking the length of my shorts. Now I'm going for a much longer length than I actually need, because when you're working with a dress or a skirt or whatever it is that is going to have drawstrings on the side, you want to make sure that you go longer than you actually need, so that you would use the drawstring to adjust it to the actual length that it's going to be. So 17 inches is definitely much longer than I need for a pair of shorts, but the drawstring is going to like pull it up to the actual length that I'm going for. So I'm just going to mark that. So that's my length, and this is the waistband area, this is the waist area. So from there, I'm going to mark my crotch depth. And then up here at the waistline, I'm going to mark my waist measurement. And when you're doing this, because this is really stretchy fabric and it's going to be really fitted, you don't need to add in any sewing allowance. In some cases, depending on how tight you want it to be, you could actually take out 1 inch from the actual measurement. But in this case, I'm just going to be using exact measurements here. We're using the hip measurement at the waistline, and I'll explain why in a minute. So we're just going to drag that down, right? And then we're going to come back here and then mark the actual waist measurement, starting from this point and coming outwards. And then we're going to pull that all the way out like this. So everything looks a bit rough right now, but basically the waist, you connect it somewhere like that gets just before your crotch line right here. And then at this point, you can see we have an L shape here. We're just going to create a curve at that sharp corner. Just like that. And I'm just going to narrow the leg a bit. So at this inner corner, I'm going to come in by I think we can go for 1.5 inches and just connect that point to this one up here. So, and at this point I'm going to come in by just 1 inch. And so now I'm just going to pin everything in place and then cut it out. So here's what our shorts look like right now. And yeah, so that's the crotch area, this is the side, and this is the leg, like the hem. That's the waistband up there. So these two pieces that we've just cut are the front pieces, so we're going to use these to cut the back pieces as well. So I'm just going to take this out of the way and show you how we're going to do that. All right, so here is this up here is the piece that we just cut, and I've placed it on top of my folded fabric, and you can see here in the inner thigh area that I've left a little bit of space, just about 1 inch right here. And that's because typically when you're sewing shorts or pants, the back is usually wider than the front. Like the leg area, the back is usually wider than the front. So that's because you add in some allowance on the inner thigh area, and then that makes the back wider. So I'm going to add in an extra inch just all the way along the leg, and then all the way along this area right here. And but other than that, I'm just going to be cutting exactly the same thing all the way around, except where we add in that extra inch right here. So I'm going to cut that and then show you what it looks like. So here's what the finished piece looks like, or the cut up pieces look like. So you can see here, this is the piece that we cut first of all, which is the front, and then you see the amount of space, the 1 inch that we left to cut the back. And then you see how at the crotch area, two of them kind of align, and then we have that inch again going all the way up to the waistband, and this is basically what it is. Next up, we're going to cut the waistband, and we're basically done cutting the shorts. I just realized that I omitted one thing, and I'm so sorry about that. This was from the earlier part of the video where I was cutting the front part. So this point right here, this line that you can see here, at this point, right, so the width measurements from this point to this point right here is your thigh measurement divided by 2. The widest part of your thigh, divide that by 2, and that is the measurement that you use here to determine how wide this area is before you connect it to the waist and all of that. And that is how you get this width right here. I'm so sorry that I omitted this in the first place. When I folded my fabric over, I folded it and made sure that I had exactly that amount, and so I didn't actually measure it at the time. So yeah, that is how you get this part right here, and that is that. So I'm just going to cut the waistband right now and we can proceed. So I have my fabric folded over, and this is where I'm going to cut the waistband from. So the width here is half of my waist measurement, exactly half of my waist measurement. I didn't add any allowance. And then for the thickness of the waistband, I'm going to go with 7 inches. So this is how thick it's going to be, and that's because it's going to be folded over first of all, and then we have to account for that sewing allowance for when we attach it to the actual shorts, to the body of the shorts. So I want a waistband that's about 3 inches. They're about just roughly 3 inches. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then I added in an extra inch just because. Now I'm not using an elastic band in my waistband for these particular shorts, but I would actually recommend doing that. This is a last minute project, and I just realized that I don't have a thick enough waistband. So if you do recreate this, then I would definitely recommend that you put in a waistband in your, like, in the fabric, that you put in an elastic band in the waistband of your shorts. That just gives it more structure, and it makes it a bit more firm and fitting as well. So yeah, so I'm going to cut out my waistband, and I'm going to show you all of the pieces of the shorts. So here's everything. Those are the drawstrings. These are the two pieces that are going to be the channel on the two sides for the drawstring. Here's our waistband, and these are the 4 pieces for the body of the shorts. So I'm really excited. So these are all the pieces that we need for the shorts, and that's that. And now we're going to cut the top of, so now we're going to cut the top. Okay, so I have my fabric folded over and pinned down, and the width that I've used here is my bust measurement divided by 4. So that is exactly what I have here, because that's like the width of the shirt. So that's the measurement that I'm working with. So I'm going to come up here, because this is the shoulder line. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to measure my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I'm just going to mark that, and then pull it down. And then I'm going to measure my armhole, and then just have a straight line there as well. So you should end up with like sort of like an L-shaped thing right here. And so at that sharp corner, I'm just going to create a curve like that, and at this point I'm going to come down by almost an inch, just about 3/4 of an inch, right? And then now we're going to create the neckline. I'm just going with a basic round neck, and so I'm just going to go with 3.5 inches wide and 3.5 inches deep. There we have it. This is the neck, and I connected the corner of the neckline here to the shoulder with a slanted line. And now I'm just going to measure the length that I want for this top, and when I have that, I'm just going to cut it all out, and that's basically the front piece. So I'm going to, when I cut this front piece out, I'm going to cut it again, because I'm going to line this top, and because I didn't get lining fabric, I'm just going to use the same fabric as the lining fabric as well. So if you do have a separate fabric that you're using to line yours, then you would cut one on your main fabric and cut the second one on the lining fabric. So here we have all 4 pieces for the body of the top, and this is the back because you can see the neck is higher up, and this is the front because you can see the neck is lower. For the back, I used about an inch, I think an inch and a half for the depth of the neck, and for the front, like I showed you, I used 3.5 inches. So basically it's exactly the same thing, just that for the back the neck comes up a bit higher. And so these are all 4 pieces, and all that's left to cut is actually the sleeves. Now this is where we have a problem, because all I have left are scraps, leftover scraps, and I don't think this would be enough to cut the sleeves. I just want like really small, like very short sleeves, honestly. So I might be able to make this work, but still I'm a bit worried. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get 2 sleeves from this, because like it's just like tiny pieces here and there. So yeah, but yeah, let's just get to that right now. Okay, so I have some mostly good news. I was able to get 1 sleeve, and this is what it looks like. So like I said, I was going for really short, so this is about 7 inches right here, and this is the underarm area, so of course it's shorter. The not so great news is that I didn't cut it the way I would typically cut sleeves. So you can see that like this upper area just looks kind of like swooped down this way, which I wouldn't usually do. The way I would cut sleeves, I usually have it be like kind of straight-ish, and then it curves down and that way, right? And yeah, that's usually the shape that you get for your sleeves. But for this one, I just had to do what I had to do. So basically on the body of your top, right, so this is the body, just to remind you. On the body of the top, this area right here, which is your armhole, you need to measure what you have right here from this point all the way to this point. And with that measurement, you're going to have your fabric folded over, and then you would draw that curved line, right? So that curved sleeve shape, which is kind of like a weird lopsided S. So it comes like this and curves down and then straight like that. And then you're going to take that measurement and you would measure it, and then wherever it stops, you mark that. And so that's going to be the upper, like the armhole area sort of thing. Then you measure the length of your sleeve and you measure that. You have a straight line at the base and you connect that armhole point to the hem like that, and that is basically your sleeve. If you're not, like, if this explanation is not clear enough, I would definitely tag another I would link another video in the description box where I properly did the sleeves, because this is just not great. The only reason why this is going to still not be much of a problem is because this fabric is really stretchy. So the good thing about working with stretchy fabric is that it's very forgiving, and it doesn't, like, you can make some mistakes here and there, and your mistakes wouldn't be as obvious by the time you have your finished garment, especially if it's something fitted, which it usually is when it's fitted fabric. Anyway, the not so great news is that I'm not going to be able to get this, like, a piece big enough for a second sleeve. So my second sleeve is going to have, like, I'm going to have to stitch some fabric together, stitch some of these pieces together to get like the second sleeve, which it'll be fine, I'll manage. So I'm going to cut the pieces that would make up the second sleeve, and then we can get to sewing all of this. So, and here are all of the pieces, everything is ready, so we're going to start sewing now. And I'm going to start sewing the shorts first of all. So the first thing that I'm going to do, this is the outer thigh, that's the inner thigh, that's the crotch area. So typically I would start sewing from the inner thigh and then join the crotch together and all of that, but because we have drawstrings on the outer thigh and I want to make sure I put that in place before closing it up, I'm actually going to start from the outer thigh. So the first thing I'm going to do is to actually take both legs, the two separate legs of the shorts, and then sew the outer thigh down and attach my attach my drawstring channel. So let's get started with that. All right, so these are the two legs of our shorts, and this is what it looks like. I used my serger to sew it, that's why, like, this is how the stitches look. But if you don't have a serger, then you can definitely use your zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. That works very well with stretchy fabric, and I would recommend that. Yeah, so this is one leg and this is the other leg, and I spread this one open because I want to show you what I'm going to do next. So I also went ahead and serged like the two sides of my drawstring channel, and I'm just going to take that and I'm going to place it right here on that seam that we have, and then I'm going to sew 3 straight lines. So one here, and then one on the center, so that way you create 2 tunnels, and that's where your drawstring comes through. Now before I do that though, I'm actually going to go ahead and sew my drawstrings. So for the drawstring, it's pretty easy. I'm going to be using my zigzag stitch to do this, but if you have a loop turner, you can basically like just fold it over in half like this, sew it down, and then like just with your serger or with your zigzag stitch, and then use your loop turner to turn it right side out. But I haven't gotten a loop turner yet, so this is the alternative way, which is to tuck in the two rough edges this way and then fold it over again, and like that. So I'm going to use my zigzag stitch to just hold that down and just go from one end all the way to the other. And of course at the ends right here, I'm going to fold it in. I'm going to fold that rough edge in just to, you know, create a finished end on both sides. So I'm going to do that to my drawstrings to prep them, and then I'm going to attach my drawstring channel to the sides of my shorts, and then I will show you what that looks like. So, and one more thing, before attaching your drawstring channel, you're actually going to make sure you hem the leg of your shorts. So as it's spread open this way, you hem the leg of the shorts, and you actually go ahead and hem the boning channel as well, so that when you lay them together and you sew them down, you have a neat finished hem down here. Because if you attach your boning channel first, then this would be attached, and then if you're trying to hem it, you're going to end up closing the space where your drawstring is supposed to come out of. So you want to make sure you have a clean and neat finish. And so you hem this, you hem the shorts, and then you attach the drawstring channel to the shorts. So yeah, and here's what our shorts look like right now. So these are the two legs. I have this one spread open so you can see where I sewed the drawstring channel, and right here you can see we've created two tunnels that the drawstring is going to pass through. And this is these are our drawstrings, because we have two of them. So basically it's going to go this way. So it's going to be, I'm going to cut it in two and then pass each one through the two channels on this side and then on this side. And then I'm going to make sure I also pin it in place up here, just so it doesn't like come all the way through, because what I need to make sure I do is when I'm attaching the waistband, I want to make sure that the stitches also holds the drawstring in place up there. And so but before we go ahead with the waistband, I'm just going to close up this part right here, which is the inner thigh, on both legs, and then attach the crotch together, which is this point right here. So attach them together, joining both legs together, and finally having the shorts as one piece. And then of course basically pass my drawstring through the tunnel that we've created. And yeah, and then the final thing would be to attach the waistband, which I would show you, but let's just get straight into joining the pieces together and doing the drawstring. Here's what our shorts look like. This is the drawstring, and basically the shorts are done. All we need to do is sew on the waistband, and this is the waistband. So all I'm going to do is to sew this place closed, just as it's laying here folded over. So when I sew this place closed, I would fold it in half. Right, so let me just try to demonstrate that. Oh my goodness, it's so weird doing this one-handed. But anyway, yeah, then I would fold it in half like this, and it would be like one band because this area would be closed. And then I would just attach that to the waist of the shorts here, and it's basically done. So I'm just going to sew up the waistband and attach it to the shorts, and then I'll show you what that looks like before we move on to the top. We're all done, and here is what the shorts look like. So you can see the waistband, and it's kind of high-waisted, which I really love. If you're going for a more low-waisted look, then you definitely want your waistband to be a bit thinner than mine was. And yeah, so we're done with the shorts, and now we can actually start with the top. So as you can see here, I've laid out all 4 pieces of the body of the top, and I have the back pieces, the lining and the main fabric piece, and then I have the front pieces as well, lining and main fabric. And you can see also that I laid them so that the right sides of the fabric are facing each other. And what I'm going to do next is to use my serger to sew along the neckline for both of them, and then along the hem as well. And then I'm going to do that with the way the fabric is laid right now, right sides facing each other. And when I do that, I will turn them right side out so that you have the hem and the neckline well finished and all neat and everything. So I'm going to do that for these 2 pieces, and I'll show you what it looks like. If you don't have a serger, like I said before, a zigzag stitch would work on any stretchy fabric. So you just try the different types, because tabletop sewing machines usually have a lot of, or a number of, zigzag stitches. So you try a few and see which one works best with the fabric that you've chosen. Here are our pieces. First of all, I have bad news. So this happened. I sewed the necklines and then the hem, and then I just thought, okay, maybe I'll just press it, and the iron kind of burnt this area of my back, of the back of my top. And this was supposed to be the main piece, like the main fabric. This is the lining, but since this has happened, I'm just going to have to turn it over and use that as the lining instead, just so it doesn't show on the outside, which I'm kind of sad about, because the lining piece that I cut for the back is just like the way the pattern lays. As you can see, for the front it's kind of like crisscrossed, and then for the back it's just kind of slanted, but it's fine. I'm glad that it's just the back. Anyway, now that we've done the hem and the neckline, we're going to join the shoulders and the sides together before attaching the sleeves. So here's what I'm going to do. Right, so we're just going to take it, and then of course when you lay it together, you have to make sure that you are laying it so that the right sides of your fabric are facing each other. And so just going to lay it out like this, and then at the shoulder I'm going to open up both of them when I'm joining it. So I'm just going to, so you can see how it lays like this. So I'm just going to come in here and then open them up so that when I sew, I'm just going to sew like this and then go all the way down like that. Let me open it up, hold on. So here's what I mean. You're going to actually spread it out, open like this, lay them together so that this seam right here, which is your neckline, they are both laying directly on top of each other. And then you start from one end, sew all the way to the other end, and then you would have a neat finish, and all the rough edges of your stitching would be on the inside and it won't show on the outside. I don't know, it just makes for a neater finish than just like laying them together like this and just sewing it straight on top like that. But you can do that if that's what you want to do. And then for the side seam, I was thinking I would just sew it straight down like this, but I think I'm going to do the same thing that I just showed you on the shoulder, which is to basically open it up and like sew like this and go all the way down and like spread it out and go from this end to this end so that all of the rough edges would be on the inside. So I'm going to join the sides and the shoulders and I will show you what it looks like. Hopefully I don't burn it again. Here's our top and we're basically done. All we need to do next is to attach the sleeves. So you can see what I was talking about for the sewing on the sides. All of the rough stitching is in between the lining and the main fabric. So when you look inside the top and when you look outside, it's neat. This right here that you're looking at is the wrong side of the top and it still looks really neat. So it's just small touches like this that make your finishing look a lot better. So here are my sleeves, and basically I'm going to first of all hem the end and then close off the sides. So close it off on the underarm right here before pinning and then sewing it to my my armholes. And that's basically going to be it, honestly. Like, we're already done here, so I'm just going to go ahead and attach the sleeves, and I will be back to show you the finished result. Here's our final product, our finished piece or two-piece, and I love this set so much. I really love the drawstring on the sides, and I love that I went with a fitted t-shirt for the top, because initially I was thinking of going with like a bra top sort of look, but yeah, this is the final look. And yeah,